Over the years, the world has been hit by a number of noteworthy hurricanes, with most of them within the American coasts, from Texas to Maine. These storms may cause a wide range of damage, including wind damage, floods, injuries, and even fatalities. These horrible hurricanes really took hold of and shook the four walls of America that left inhabitants and the world in awe. It was always an incredibly bitter experience whenever a hurricane surfaces, and a detailed account of one won't be a bad watch. But here, we've got the Super 5 detailed. We hope you enjoy this video, so sit back, relax, and watch till the end as we explore 5 horrifying hurricane destructions captured on camera. 5. Hurricane Andrew. In August 1992, a strong Category 5 storm devastated southern Dade County, Florida, mostly the regions south of Miami. Even Andrew, which formed in the Atlantic Ocean, was first regarded as a weak storm when the hurricane season got underway that year. But by the time it made landfall in the Bahamas, the season's first named storm had gusts gusting to more than 160 miles per hour. With sustained gusts of 141 miles per hour when it reached Florida, Andrew destroyed a large number of houses. Low-lying streets were converted into rivers by a 17-foot storm surge. Additionally, due to the storm's destruction of almost 9,500 traffic signs and signals, vehicles were left on their own for many weeks, up until Storm Katrina reached Louisiana in 2005 and inflicted greater damage in terms of insured losses. Andrew was the most expensive hurricane in US history, with damage estimates of $27.3 billion. After Andrew, the South Florida Construction Code was completely revised, and all new residences are now required to have storm shutters or impact-resistant glass. Additionally, roofs now have stricter nail restrictions. The majority of Andrew's existence, despite the fact that it was a tiny tropical storm, was spent doing tremendous damage, particularly in the Bahamas, Florida, and Louisiana. Extremely strong winds were responsible for most of the destruction, while a couple of tornadoes that Andrew sparked in Louisiana did significant damage as well. Almost 177,000 individuals were left without a place to live within the impacted regions. Although there was little damage, impacts were widespread beyond the Bahamas, Florida, and Louisiana. 4. Hurricane Michael. When Hurricane Michael, Category 5, made landfall on October 10, 2018, it devastated the Florida Panhandle, especially at Panama City Beach, Mexico Beach, and Cape San Blas. It was the second Category 5 storm to ever make landfall on the Gulf Coast and the fiercest hurricane to ever strike that region. Since Hurricane Andrew in 1992, Michael was the first Category 5 hurricane to make landfall in the United States. Hurricane Michael began as a normal October Caribbean tropical storm with little strength. But as soon as the storm crossed over the warm Gulf of Mexico, it quickly became stronger and developed into a major hurricane with sustained winds of 161 miles per hour. The wind and storm surge brought about devastating destruction that stretched inland into southwest Georgia. In 4 states, including Florida, Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia, Hurricane Michael resulted in 16 fatalities. Estimates of Michael's damage from the Insurance Information Institute range from $9 to $12 billion. Due to the severe damage and fatalities it left in its wake, particularly in the Florida Panhandle and southwest Georgia, the World Meteorological Organization retired the name Michael from its rotating name lists on March 20, 2019, at the 41st session of the RA4 Hurricane Committee. The name will never again be used for an Atlantic hurricane. For the 2024 season, Milton will take its position. 3. Hurricane DORIAN. The 2019 Atlantic hurricane season began with Storm Dorian, which was its first significant hurricane. It began as a tropical wave on August 24 in the central Atlantic and developed into a hurricane on August 28 as it travelled into the Lesser Antilles. The storm soon picked up in strength and developed into a Category 4 hurricane. Dorian intensified to Category 5 status on September 1st and was headed straight towards the Bahamas with sustained winds of 185 miles per hour. At Elbow Key, Great Abaco in the Bahamas, it made landfall as a Category 5 hurricane. A few hours later, it made landfall again on Grand Bahama Island. The Bahamas have never experienced a storm of this strength, but Dorian wasn't finished yet. At Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, where it made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane for the third time, the Outer Banks were devastated by rain and a catastrophic storm surge as it travelled along the North Carolina coast. The Bahamas' former health minister told the country's parliament that record-keeping on Hurricane Dorian's missing victims was so horribly mishandled that he couldn't tell for sure how many really perished. The official death toll from Dorian in the Bahamas is 74. The Bahamas alone were estimated to have sustained damage worth $3.4 billion. Dorian was supposed to be withdrawn due to its catastrophic consequences, especially in the Bahamas. Due to the COVID-19 epidemic, the 2020 World Meteorological Organization conference was televised and cut short, leaving inadequate time to consider prospective retirements and replacements of tropical cyclone names. Due to the harm and fatalities it inflicted, Dorian was decommissioned at the conference the following year and will never again be used for an Atlantic hurricane. For the 2025 season, Dexter will take its place. 2. Hurricane Harvey. In late August 2017, Hurricane Harvey passed across the Gulf of Mexico before making landfall in the United States as a Category 4 hurricane. After Storm Wilma in 2005, it was the first big hurricane to hit the continental United States in a decade at the time. Harvey arrived at the same time as it was at its strongest, with gusts of 130 miles per hour. Corpus Christi and Galveston, two Texas coastline cities, were severely damaged, but Houston, the fourth largest city in the nation, sustained the most dramatic losses. As Harvey lingered over the region for days, dropping up to 50 inches of water in some places, flooding in Houston was catastrophic. The 4-day period saw the same amount of rain that Houston typically receives in a full year, and as a result, both the natural environment and the built environment in the region were severely damaged. Communities like Beaumont, Texas, were also impacted by the hurricane, and the whole city was left without access to clean drinking water. Brooke Long, the then director of FEMA, referred to Harvey as perhaps the biggest catastrophe the state has experienced. In all, 30,000 residents of Texas were displaced by flooding, and more than 13,000 individuals needed to be rescued around the state. In addition, although Texas was the heaviest devastated state, the storm also had an impact on areas in Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, and other states. It was the fourth most costly storm in American history, with damage estimates of over $121 billion. In Texas, Harvey took at least 82 lives. Officials claim the figure includes those who passed away on roadways or in flash floods as a direct consequence of the storm. Due to the extensive destruction and fatalities it caused along its path, particularly in the state of Texas, the World Meteorological Organization retired the name Harvey from its rotating name lists on April 11, 2018, at the 40th session of the RA4 Hurricane Committee, and its name will never again be used for an Atlantic hurricane. For the 2023 campaign, Harold will take its place. Number 1. Hurricane Katrina, 2005. Hurricane Katrina, which ploughed into the Gulf Coast in 2005 and destroyed everything in its path, was a devastating hurricane that struck the region. The most expensive natural disaster and third deadliest hurricane to ever strike the United States is Katrina. On August 23rd, this storm formed over the Bahamas, and the following day, it rapidly strengthened into Tropical Storm Katrina. Just 2 hours before making landfall, at Hallandale Beach, Florida, on August 25th, the tropical storm that was moving westward toward Florida gradually strengthened to a Category 1 hurricane. On August 26th, it briefly became a tropical storm over Florida before moving into the Gulf of Mexico. Over the warm Gulf seas, Katrina quickly became stronger, becoming a Category 5 storm. On August 29, this hurricane finally made a second landfall in southeast Louisiana as a Category 3 hurricane. Due to Katrina's immense magnitude, storm surge rather than wind had the most disastrous effects. The Mississippi Gulf Coast saw a record-breaking storm surge due to the extensive field of strong onshore winds. Over much of South Mississippi, the surge extended 6 miles inland. In bays and rivers, it extended up to 12 miles inland. In Lake Pontchartrain, water was also pushed west, causing a storm surge of 10 to 19 feet. Massive volumes of water began to flow through the system of canals and channels around New Orleans, shattering levees and floodwalls and submerging the city by 80%. Having a throwback on those tragic and terrifying hurricanes is really disheartening. Lives were lost, houses rendered useless, and inhabitants rendered homeless. It was an experience to always remember, a disaster made real. Humanity will always not want a repeat of such an incident. Well, that's all for this episode. We hope you enjoyed the video. Do give us your reviews in the comment section below. We'll love to see them. Also, do not forget to like and share our videos. And as well, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's a great kind of support and we'll so much appreciate that. Again, thanks for watching and see you again soon.